All right, welcome to another part of Insolent Answers. Those of you who have watched this show before, you already know that this is a non-scripted, on-the-fly version of my usual content. I am going to get a bunch of questions and I'm going to answer them on the fly. The answers are either ones that were either posted on the comments from other episodes or emailed in from subscribers or I found on the internet. So before I start answering any questions, please, I'm going to ask you all to please support the channel. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. It really helps out the channel. Give this video a like and share it on other social media platforms. Thank you so much, fam. All right, so let's get to the first question. Here we go. Why do you have a planet outro scene in your videos? To the subscriber that sent that question in, thank you very much. Okay, so that's actually pretty interesting questions. I know in our niche, to see anything that has to do with like outer space or planetary things, it's either me or Locke the Bounty Hunter or maybe a couple others, not too many. But for me, the reason that I have that out there is I used to live near Cape Canaveral in Florida, and anyone who's lived there or has been there vacationing know that NASA's there and they do rocket launches like on the regular. And I lived there for a couple years and about 2.5, almost 3 years. And being there, I had seen maybe 50 rocket launches, maybe more than that. And at night, during the daytime, you name it. I mean, sometimes the rocket launches would take off at 3 in the morning. It would just vibrate my bed. I'd wake up. I'd hear the rumbling. I'm like, okay, time to go back to sleep. Sometimes I was there to see it. Sometimes I wasn't there to see it. Either way, it was part of my day to day. And anyone who lives out there actually gets kind of interested in this stuff. So I started getting really interested into astronomy and our solar system and all that. I took tours out in the JFK Kennedy Center. So long story short, it's part of the local culture. And me having been there, I believe it became part of me, part of my experience. I witnessed several launches that they said, hey, this is going to be on a 30-year mission or whatever. And being part of that kind of history, I mean, it stays with you. Seeing these rocket launches, seeing tourists come in awe of things that you witnessed yourself. And was fortunate enough to be able to see multiple launches from multiple different tourist points. I mean, anyone who's been to the Space Coast in Florida can tell you that there are certain points that you go to watch the rocket launches. I mean, there was this like one Mexican restaurant that has a deck built specifically for having dinner so you can see a rocket launch. I mean, it's famous enough that Jeff Bezos actually went there to have dinner one time. Several of the parks there are called John F. Kennedy parks, and they're good vantage points to see these rocket launches. And they even built bar observatories on top of like hotels out there to see these rocket launches. And I've been to all of them. I've actually seen that. And there's a bridge that connects the islands out there. You could stay on the bridge and you can see a rocket launch. I've seen rocket launches from many different angles, and it's fascinating. I understand not everybody gets to see that in their lifetime. I've seen many a rocket launch. I mean, I remember one time I was coming out of a gym at around 9 o'clock at night, and as I'm headed to my car, we hear the rumbles of the rockets, and then I'm looking up at the sky and I'm seeing the rocket go up, and I'm like, wow, I'm taking this for granted because I'm living here, but a lot of people around the world would love to see this, and they stream this. So that really became a part of me. So I decided to include that in this channel because it is part that defines me. So I believe it's part of what defines my views on this channel. So I hope that answers that question. To the subscriber that sent that question in, thank you very much. All right, next question. Should you consider a woman's past traumas as a red flag? Oof. Okay, when it comes to past traumas of women or anyone, I'm not just women, just anyone in particular, let me be very clear. I categorize past traumas in two categories: dealt with and not dealt with. And what I mean by that is you recognize that, hey, I have a past trauma, I have something that's affecting me, and it may affect my future partner. So either A, let me say, you have been able, or she has been able. We're talking about a woman here, so please forgive me. I don't want to sound genderous, let's put it that way. A man dating a woman and she has past traumas. She either has seeked out or was able to seek out help to help her deal with these traumas and do that healing journey, because that's so important. You have to heal yourself internally as a woman before going on, because it's going to affect you. And then there's the other category where they haven't healed, they haven't done healing journey to be able to get a better relationship, and that may cause, or let me not say may, it more than likely will cause their future partner some issues, because then their partner has to deal with that. So it really depends on how well the trauma has been dealt with, what has been done for the healing process. If a woman has healed, she's gone to therapy, she's done everything she needs and she's healed plenty, I wouldn't consider that a red flag. But if she hasn't, and she's got those sunken ships deep in the oceans of her mind, or however whatever metaphor you want to use, doesn't really matter. Then right there, I would consider that a red flag because if she's not willing to find the help that she needs to deal with the issues that she's having right now, well then you're gonna have to deal with it. It's not a matter of if it's gonna come out; it will come out. If she hasn't done anything to fix that, it will come out later, and she can go a year, 2 years, even 3 years, 5 years sometimes, no problem. And then all of a sudden, bam, it just comes out because that's how the mind works. I mean, the mind is such a complicated supercomputer. Things can be thrown in the back, but then eventually they'll come out. So, depending on if she's handled it, it may not be a red flag. If she hasn't done anything to handle it, then yeah, it's a red flag there. I hope I answered that question as best possible. Let's go on to the next question. Why do women think men should be attracted to the same things women find attractive? Oh, well, this is pretty freaking simple to answer here. I found this on Reddit. I think the answers there really weren't very helpful. They were very harsh. I'm going to try to give a better, less harsh, more understanding answer. Okay, in order to understand this as men, you have to stop for one moment and look at it from a man's point of view. When you were young, growing up, you didn't understand how women worked, and you thought that women were attracted to the same things that you were attracted to. And this is why a lot of men will send D pics to women because men are visual creatures. Men get activated by what they see, so they believe that women are the same way. And they found out very quickly, 9 times out of 10, that is not the case. Women are not wired like men, and men have to learn very quickly when they court women. This is not the way. I have to learn how to do this better. I have to learn what a woman likes in order to attract a woman. And men learn this at an early age, from their teenage years on to their early 20s. They have to hit the ground running, and they have to learn this quickly if they want to get it with a woman. Now, because women are not the ones that pursue, they are the ones that are pursued. They don't really have to learn what a man likes. They really don't, and they have the privilege of being able to coast through life because they're given upfront their value. Their SMV is highest in their early years. They are pursued because men are attracted to youth and beauty. So they don't have to learn what a man likes. It's not until down the road, once they're like a decade post-wall, that's when women are like, okay, well, they have to put in the work to attract a man, but since they never had to put in the work before that, they believe that, the same thing like what a guy believed when he was 16, 17, that women are attracted to the same things. Well, women who are in their late 30s, early 40s are realizing the same thing. They're like, well, I like a man who has a future, who's intelligent, who has education, who's tall, whatever. And they think, just like you did when you were a teenager, well, men must like the same thing. And then they're hit with the reality, no, they don't. Men are not attracted to the same things. Men don't care about your career. Men don't care about your money. Men don't care about the house that you got. Men don't care about the car you have. And then they're shocked and shaken. And these are usually the women that are single, they're divorced, or they divorced their man and they had a boyfriend, but that didn't work out. And now they find themselves back out on the streets. And they have to learn late in life, hey, men are not women. They don't find the same things attractive. And usually, as women like to have things go their way, they use that mentality late in life. Well, you should like what I say you like. And they're hit with the reality of like, men are not going to do that. And this is the reason why women believe that men should like the things that they like. And they're hit with the reality of like, nope. So female attraction to men is not the same thing. And hopefully this answered the question as best it could. So let's move on to the next question. What is your stance on no-fault divorce laws? Okay. My stance on those types of laws are that it's a failed experiment. And that's putting it lightly. No-fault divorce, as we know, it started in California under Ronald Reagan. And I'm just talking about the U.S. here. Now, I'm pretty sure the rest of the Western world has their own versions of it. I'm just talking about the U.S. here. It started in California under Ronald Reagan, and it spread out through the entire country. I just have to say, I believe that it's a failed experiment. If we look at it, divorce rates went up ever since no-fault divorce was put in. Think about it. The government treats marriage as a contract. They really do. They treat it as a business entity. And marriage is the only contract in the U.S. that I know of that you're rewarded for breaking the contract. As soon as they introduce no-fault divorce, now you no longer have the ability to break the contract under you or someone else not following the contract. Now, I'm just going to break it and women get rewarded for it. And what have we seen? Marriage rates have plummeted. They are the lowest they've ever been, and they're going to stay low. Men don't want to get married. Why should they? They lose half their assets plus alimony, and no. It's a nightmare for men. And now the government is seeing that single men who have enough resources, they don't even bother getting married in the U.S. They'll travel overseas. They become passport bros. They go somewhere else. So I believe that no-fault divorce laws are a failed experiment. It is something that had good intentions going in as to, If you're not happy in this marriage, why am I forced to stay in this marriage if I don't want to be here? And no fault divorce allows me to escape this marriage and I can go find my happiness. Well, two problems there. Number one, no fault divorce allows you to get rewarded for breaking the testimony of marriage. And number two, we have found that women who divorce and go out back out into the streets don't find happiness. Second marriages have a higher divorce rate than first marriages, and third marriages have an abysmal divorce rate. So no, happiness is not found. It's a total failed experiment, and I believe that we should recognize that it's a failed experiment, recognize that that law is antiquated, recognize that now how things have gone, how with all the data that we collected over the decades, that law needs to be changed. We need to amend it. Am I saying get rid of it? No, I'm saying that we should definitely make the pendulum swing the other way. It shouldn't remain the way it's going. So I hope that answered that question. Now, the next question I have here is actually hand in hand with that question. So let me go on to the next question. How can marriage laws in the West be fixed? Okay, so we already talked about no fault divorce. To address this question, what adjustments do I believe that could fix this? Well, first of all, I'm no legal expert. That's number one. Number two, in the U.S., and the West in general, marriage laws and divorce laws are different everywhere you go. So take this with a grain of salt. I'm going to be wrong a lot here. I think the first thing we should do in marriage laws, get rid of common law marriage. Now, most of the U.S. has abolished that. Only about 7 states have that. I think we should get rid of that in the last 7 states. And the rest of the West, I think they should get rid of that. We've mostly fixed that, but not completely. That's number one. Number two, what I think that should be done is prenups should be a heavy option. What I mean by that is all states, they should start up saying, hey, are you guys going to have a prenup, and offer some kind of like training so they understand what a prenup is, how it protects them. And a prenup isn't just to protect men, it protects men and women, both of them. A prenup can be everything, but many times you have these young couples that don't have that much money to pay for a lawyer to have a proper prenup made. I think that every state should have a template of a prenup in order to avoid a disastrous divorce after that. Another idea that I have for marriages or fixing marriage laws in the West is I believe that we should completely do away with long-term alimony. I honestly believe, this is just my belief, regardless of how long you were married, nobody needs alimony more than 5 years. You could have been married 30 years. And if you're going to say, well, I've been a stay-at-home wife my whole life, I've been married for 30 years, I don't have any skill sets, you should be able in 5 years to go to some kind of trade school, some short little 6-month, 12-month, 18-month, 24-month course, and get a new career that way. So I believe that alimony should be capped at 5 years maximum in all states. I don't see a reason why it should go any further than 5 years, but that's just my opinion. I hope that answered that question. Those are just a few opinions that I have. I mean, we can go into more details, but I believe those would handle most of the problems, if not half of them at least. All right, let's go into the next question. The next question is, what are some issues when dating a widow? Oh, okay. Now, this question is a touchy subject. As you all know, I do give widows a lot of passes on my channel because they did not ask to be single again. It's just a fact of life that they're pushed back into the dating market. But that doesn't mean that the person that they're dating is going to get a pass, and that's usually a man. So what are some issues when dating a widow? I researched this a little bit. What I found, the most common denominator here that I've seen from several men who have dated a widow, their complaint is that they are competing against a ghost. And what I mean by that is when they're dating a widow, they're always competing against the memory of the man who has passed away. A widow was married, the guy took care of her, he passed away for XY reason. And as we know, when we retain memories about a person, we always retain the positives. I'm not saying that the guys were terrible. I'm just saying that a widow will always retain the positive memories of her deceased husband. And when you marry a widow, or at least I've seen that these men say when they married a widow, they have to compete with that memory. And it's a losing competition. They don't always win. Or I should say, they mostly don't win. And they try it for a couple of years, but then after a couple of years, they basically say, well, what I've seen in certain blogs is after a couple of years, they just come up to the conclusion saying, listen, you're still in love with the memory of your deceased husband, and he was probably a great guy, but I'm tired of competing with that. I don't want to continue to compete with that. I wish you the best of luck. And it's not that I'm throwing away these 2 years, but it's an opponent that I can't defeat. It's a memory that it's always going to be greater compared to whatever I do now. And this is not healthy for me. And I'm going to just go on with my life. That is probably the main issue I've seen with widows in the different resources I found. Other issues that I've seen with widows are, for example, they still have items that were owned by their deceased husbands. Like they'll keep the clothing around or certain things that their deceased husbands did or pictures of their deceased husband by the bed. It's something that it will remind you, if you're the guy dating this woman, it's kind of like a slap of reality. Like she's always going to have feelings for this individual. And she wakes up in the morning and there's a picture of her She sees husband somewhere and she's going to look at it. The past is still alive. The past is still living in her day to day. And it can be hurtful to you as a man saying, listen, I'm trying here, but it hurts me knowing that you're thinking about another man. And I know it's not your fault, but it does hurt me. So that's another issue that I've seen a couple been mentioned. I think those are the two biggest issues. I don't know of many other issues, but please put in the comments if you guys have dated widows. Maybe there's something else that I missed here. I think that's the best answer I can give for that question. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Should a successful man have a main woman and a side chick? Oh, brother. All right, so I found this question online. And the reason I'm going to answer this question is the way it was phrased, it really sounded like a successful man was asking permission. It sounded like a guy who's successful, who's probably married or has his main woman, is kind of asking permission. You think I should have a side chick? Okay, listen, I honestly would say if you're a successful man and you have a main woman in your life and you want to like go on and sleep on the side, I understand that no one has the power to stop you really because successful men have these options and sometimes they'll exercise them, especially if their wives or their girlfriends or their significant others are not performing up to par. Now you have those like minority successful men, or I should say, you have those successful men that are in the minority where they do have a main woman and they'll tell them up front, listen, I will have side chicks. I will have a woman on the side that I'll see every now and then. If you want to be with me, you have to accept that. I will give you a very good lifestyle, but you have to accept this. If you want to accept A, you have to accept B. Every successful man has a different story. So if you were married and you were broke and then you became successful, and then after you became successful, you decide, okay, well, I'm going to step out on my wife. That's not really looked on in a positive way. But if you were already successful and you met this woman and you're like, listen, I like you, this and that. I want to offer you a great lifestyle that I can maintain, but you have to accept that I will be stepping out. That's totally different. Or I understand some guys could argue, okay, I was successful already. I accepted her. I'm not telling her I'm stepping out, but she should have expected something like that. I mean, it's a delicate thing. I really believe that a successful man should know where he started from before he starts dictating these terms. Being with a woman who was with you when you were nothing and you built it together is one thing. You haven't been built already, and then a woman jumps onto your success. That's a total different animal there. So that's for each man to evaluate himself. I'm not going to say he should or he shouldn't. I'm going to say that they will decide that themselves. Okay, let's move on to the next question. How many times should a man get married throughout his lifetime? Well, right now, how things are in the West, the best way to answer that question is zero. I wouldn't get married. I was married. I would not recommend marriage now. Not how things are going right now. Things are not the best for men in the West right now. It really is a huge disadvantage to men. It's a disservice, to be honest with you. It's a disservice to men how marriage laws are in the West. So right now, if this question was asked from this day forward, if you turned 18 today, this day forward, how many times you should be married throughout your lifetime? Zero is the answer. I would not recommend marriage until the marriage laws change. Zero is the answer because all the risk is on the man. And I don't care how many womanists are going to come out and say, oh, men have the advantage. Oh, everything's against women. I'm sorry. No. Women have all the advantage in marriage, especially in the West. I would say do not get married throughout your lifetime. Cohabitate, use other ways, protect your money, protect your assets, protect your children, because marriage gives a woman the nuke option. The moment you get married with a woman, especially if she has kids and you've been married for at least 7 years, the government gives her the nuke option. You do not have the nuke option. You don't. She has the nuke option. She can nuke the marriage, nuke you, plus alimony child support payout, and you will be nuked. You will have to start from zero. She'll get a bonus out the door. So no. I'd say no right now. That's my recommendation now. I mean, there are other conditions. For example, you're broke and she's got money. Yeah, go ahead and marry her without a prenup. It's only fair. But there are exceptions to every rule, but the rule of thumb will be no, zero. Okay, let's move on to the next question. What kind of issues can occur when dating a woman who earns more than you? Okay, this question, I've actually seen it on videos of women complaining about men who earn less than them. So I posted this question. When a man earns less than a woman, you're going to have several issues. Number one, eventually she's not going to respect you. She's not going to follow your lead. She may say, oh, no, I'm going to follow a man's lead. No, she says that starting off. That'll last for a while. But women are not built to be providers long term. Now, there are exceptions to every rule. We're talking about rule of thumb here. If a woman is the one who's paying for everything, she will not respect you. She's going to demand you to step up your game. She's going to want you to make more money. And when you start showing that you're not going to make more money, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that, you're not going to be at what she considers her level, because women love to throw her level when they make more money. But when they make less money, oh, it's your job to pay for everything. Trust me, women love to do that. When you're not at her level, she's going to demand you to be at her level. If you cannot perform, if you cannot get up to her level, she will lose respect for you. She's going to want to leave you, or she's going to go out and cheat. Those are the problems. Now, if you're married to a woman who makes more money than you and you don't have a prenup, well, everything's in your advantage because now these laws work for you. Here's the funny thing. I've known men who make six figures and they've been married to women who make like 500K annually, 5 times what they make. And the woman divorces them and they decide that they're not going to take any alimony from that woman because they feel emasculated by that. I will be the first one to tell you, if you are in a marriage and your wife makes more money than you and you decided not to take money because you feel emasculated, you have been played by yourself. You have played yourself. Trust me. Always take the alimony because you don't know what the future is going to bring. You don't know if you're going to need that money. And if you were married to her and she makes more money than you and you put in the time, do what women do. Get paid for your time being there. I've heard it more than once, and I personally know guys who refuse to take alimony because they feel that it's emasculating, and as a man, they shouldn't take money from women. I'll be the first to tell you, do it. And if you're not going to take it for yourself, take it and give it to your children or to someone special to you. Do it. You don't want to get out of there without getting paid. All right. Let's go on to the last question of the day. What are the advantages of dating an older, broke woman? Oh, wow. I know this question sounds silly, but I came up with this question myself because there's so many comments I've seen in my videos where older women say that there's so many advantages of dating an older woman and men are just being ageist because they don't want to date an older woman. Well, I decided, okay, well, put your feet to the fire here. Let me try to come up with advantages of dating an older broke woman. Now, note I said dating, not marrying. So, what are the advantages of dating an older broke woman? There are not many, to be honest. Companionship would probably be the number one thing up there. But other than that, what other advantages can I come up with? Not many, because an older broke woman is going to push to get married because she's broke. She wants to be taken care of. Let's be honest here, ladies. If you're an older broke woman, if you're in your 50s on up, what are you going to offer a man that he's going to want to put a ring on it? Number one, the man that you're attracted to is one who has a good retirement plan, so he can attract other women. So what are you offering him? Well, you can't offer him retirement because you need his retirement. Okay, what are you going to say? Companionship. That's probably the number one thing that you can offer him, but he can get that from women who are younger than you. Bedroom fun. Again, he'd rather get that from younger women. Your experiences. Okay, what about your experiences is he going to value? More to the point, how do your experiences provide him any value of any sort? See, experiences is something that women like to see in men. Men don't care about a woman's experience at all, very rarely. I mean, there are exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, no. I mean, you're going to bring him more issues than value because if you're a broke older woman, you're probably going to have more health issues because you didn't have enough money for like your health benefits. So he's going to have to pay for that. He's probably going to have to pay for a lot of dates, probably have to pay for where you live. He'll be paying for everything. And the best you can hope for is a simp that can't get a younger woman. I didn't mean to use this question as a way to slam older women, but let's be honest. There really aren't too many advantages to dating older broke women. And the reason I say older broke women is because in the US, probably throughout the entire West, the chances of elderly women falling into poverty in retirement age are twice as high than it is for men. So there are more of you out there looking for someone to take care of you. All right, that's it for Insolent Answers. I hope everybody enjoy the answers. I hope this helped somebody out. Like and subscribe, and please share this with somebody else, and I'll see all of you in the next episode.